to you right now, thanking you for all that you give us, Lord, and especially, Lord, on this Thanksgiving week, this Thanksgiving Eve, Lord, that as we reflect as individuals, Lord, we just are very, very thankful of what you give us as individuals to our families. And God, as we look at a broad spectrum of where we live and the country we live in, God, I think that so many times, and I ask for forgiveness of this, that we take things for granted that you have blessed us so much with, Lord. I thank you that we are able to be here in a meeting like this, God, because government is something that you ordained. And again, we take that just for granted, Lord, that this is an obligation that we fulfill, and it's not, Lord. It's an honor. And I thank you for that. I just ask that today, Lord, that the business that we conduct be pleasing to you, since it's ordained by you. And Lord, I can't mention in a prayer of thanksgiving that I can't mention about how thankful that we should be, Lord, that you, in your sovereign grace, sent your Son, because we as sinners do not deserve the gift that you gave us through Jesus Christ. And I thank you so much for that, Lord, and I ask that in our feebleness, Lord, that we turn toward Christ for our wisdom and for our salvation, God. And in all these things, I give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Max, would you please play?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. This time I'll call the meeting to order. Randy, would you welcome?
Commissioner Hartline.
Here, ma'am.
Commissioner Toller.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Gould.
Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at those?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, we have minutes on 10/26. All regular ones. Let's look.
Do them one at a time. Yeah, sorry about that.
We have 10/26. You want your motion to stand on? that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
We have executive session minutes on 10/26.
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
We also have regular session minutes on November the 9th. Does everyone have a chance to look at those? Motion.
I'll make that. Second.
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Next on the agenda is building permits. I have on.
Got one, Slim, it's for Austin Flan, 07-13-05-332. It's for a mobile home, no floodplain for subdivision issues, recommend for approval.
Commissioner Hartline. Oh, sorry.
Not yet. We're getting a hurry now.
Yeah, I was.
You made that motion.
Doesn't give me a chance to look at it.
We'll get there. I make a motion we approve. Yeah.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Yes.
Okay, under county finances, have anything for this time? Under old business, we have a resolution to transfer 2018 budget appropriations.
Yeah, it's just the moving some money around within the fiscal year 2018 budget to cover some of the raises and some of the lines that need more money, and then taking it out of lines that are not going to spend the money that we budgeted. So right now it's set to take, if you remember right, when we were doing the budget for 18, we put the money for the raises in the contingencies line. Just because we weren't sure exactly, we hadn't settled the contracts yet. So we're taking the $33,000 out of contingencies and moving it down to all the different departments' lines for what they need for their raises. And then also, we needed more money in our legal counsel line for our public defenders for the court system. And so our detention line, which is for our jail bill, has actually, my estimate is it's not going to spend about $100,000 of its budget. So we're moving 32.5 out of that line to cover the public defenders for the legal.
Are there any questions?
Well, I'll just say that, first of all, with that, when we're going into the appropriations, I commend all the office holders and department heads for keeping track of their budget. And with that being said, it's to transfer some money because the raises and out of contingencies for the raises that we had it accounted for, but we didn't have it in the right lines. I understand that. But with that being said, I encourage all the department heads and office holders to watch their budgets. And if we give a budget and we agree upon that budget going into the year, then you need to watch that budget and try to stay within it. Because I know that I know monthly, and more than that from the treasurer's office, we get a report on where everybody's at on their budget. And they can see it. They can see where they're at, if they're on track 6 months, 8 months out, and going in, especially at the end of the year. I understand that things happen, but I just want to encourage all the office holders and department heads to watch their bottom line. Because transferring monies, when we're falling short like this, thank goodness we have it to do, but that's not good business to start transferring money so we can pay our bills. Because if all the office holders did that, where would we be? So that's all I've got to say on the comments, but I know that we have to do this, so I make a motion that we approve transfers.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is discussion of fiscal year 2019. And we're going to discuss, at the end of the meeting, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about the county highway part of the budget. Under new business, approve the payments of bills report. Everyone had a chance to look at the bills. Any questions?
Nice short list. Make a motion to pay our bills. I'll second.
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Next on the agenda is Regional Office of Education quarterly report of activities. Cheryl Wright.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So you've received the report that we put together for our first quarter for us. I want to talk about some other things that probably aren't on the report. So one of the things we do as 3 ROEs is we do a golf scramble every year, and then we do Coats for Kids. So we're in the process of doing that. The paperwork on that was kind of cumbersome, so this year we're trying to work with our districts a little bit easier. So next Monday, I will be at the Walmart, and they just bring their paperwork in, shop, goes on our credit card. That way we don't have to do all the reimbursement and paperwork back and forth. So we're trying to assist our districts in that to make that process a little bit easier as they're able to provide for some of the students in your districts down here. One of the other things I've been talking to you about Grow Your Own, and SIU did get over a $300,000 grant for that. One of the things, so where they're spending that money is they're going to work with the special education co-ops, and we're really looking at working on special education teachers. That seems to be our largest shortage in this area right now. And so that's right now, so spring semester, they're really trying to help candidates to make sure they have that associate degree, so then the next fall they're ready to go right into the program and start the program for special education certification then. Our school districts have received their report cards, and this is the first year that they've received a summative designation. So congratulations to Jonesboro Elementary. They received an exemplary, which is my only school in ROE 30 that received that. So that's the top 5% of schools. It's done by schools, it's not done by districts. So congratulations to them on that for their accomplishments there. So the designations are exemplary, commendable, underperforming, lowest performing. So our underperforming and our lowest performing, before under No Child Left Behind, it was kind of more of a punishment, get your kids up. Now they've kind of changed it. If you're underperforming or lowest performing, and there's a process you need to go through, a needs assessment, submit a plan to the state. Underperforming schools receive $15,000 additional money to help them with their achievement or what they need to do to help those students. Lowest performing receive $100,000 per school for that. So that's what we're working on with our districts right now, to help them do the needs assessment, to help them go through the quality frameworks that have been developed by ISBE, and then to help them put their plan in process so that they're able then to move forward to receive that money and then to give additional services to their students.
Are there any in Union County that falls in that category?
Dongola School District was underperforming. I'm sorry, lowest performing. So their schools, if they put together their plan, will receive $100,000.
Can you provide a list of all the schools and how they're rated?
For all the schools in Union County, or for all the schools
In your district?
in the ROE 30? I can do that. Yes,
Can you email
okay.
that?
Yep, I can do that. So right now, we're in the process of completing most of our health, life, safety visits to our districts. And so this is probably the quickest we've ever been able to complete that. My goal this year was to try to complete that by December or January. That gives the districts time to plan for things that maybe they need to do in the summer, instead of us waiting later in the spring to get those reports out. And here it is, they've already made plans for the summer and not sure what we're going to put on those. Our fire marshal we're working with is Tom Manus. He was with the Carbondale Fire Department, was where he's at, and now he works for the State Fire Marshal Service. So that's who we've been going out with and doing that. We are about ready to start our compliance visits, where we'll go out into the district and look at all those mandates that the state gives them to see where they're at on those. So those usually go pretty well, though. They're pretty good at keeping up with all of those. So that's kind of, other than what's on a report, if you don't have any questions about on the report, or one of the things we are offering this year is a National Board Certified Pilot Program. This is a pretty intense program. They meet, so far they've been meeting twice a month in my office, at the Annex office in Murfreesboro, Wednesday evenings for 2 hours. Then they have additional work that they're doing besides that. In Union County, you have one person from Anna Elementary that is part of that program. We'll be expanding that program, offering it again in the spring and it'll be the second year of the program. And so hoping additional people will take advantage of that. But that's a pretty intense process. They're working with students right now, they're collecting their data, they're gonna have to do some videotaping, and that gets sent in and gets graded to determine whether they're meeting the components and the expectations. Trying to think if there's anything else on here with that. We continue to work with truancy. We have all of our positions, for a while, we didn't have all of our positions filled in our truant officers, but we do have all those filled now. So they're out working and working with our schools to try to ensure that our students are attending, which is part of the new accountability with that school report card. School report card takes in, it used to be mostly just proficiency, whether students were proficient, but now it's attendance, it's the culture of the school based on the 5 Essential Survey, it's growth. So they're looking at how are the students growing from year to year also, rather than just our students at grade level and proficient. At our high school level, it takes in on track, 9th grade on track, have the students passed enough courses that they're on track to graduate, and then graduation rate is a large part of the high school school report card summative designation. Do they have any questions for me? I will get that list out. Let me make a note. Do you have another question?
Yeah, homelessness.
Yes.
Is a sad situation.
Yes.
378, it's hard to believe that there's only that many children in the region. Can you break that down by county?
We can, yes. I think we can. That report doesn't come from our office. We have to wait for somebody else to give that. But I will ask about that and see if we can break that down by county. So when we talk about homeless, we're talking about families that have doubled up. So obviously there's been some kind of financial issue in somebody's lives that has caused that, or there's maybe some kind of catastrophic illness that's causing that, But obviously those children are not in their own home with their own things, and they are being doubled up with that. And so that is a lot of children when we look at that, and I think that goes into account the poverty in our area. And the school summative.
I know there's some situations that exist where we have a school district that goes into other counties. And that situation exists in other counties, but it pertains to the school district in our county. So
That's exactly right. It's going to be counted according to wherever the school district is located. You are correct. Yes, and we have several school districts that are like that go into other counties, but it's actually where the school district is located, is the county that it goes to.
I'm just curious how much it affects in Union County. That's
Okay,
what I
yep.
was asking.
I'll see what I can get for numbers for those for you. Any other questions? No?
thank
Well,
you.
again, thank you. Thank you for the support for our office, and happy Thanksgiving.
You do.
Okay, thank you.
Next on the agenda is resolution setting the salary of the county engineer. Kevin?
Rather than just read this, Commissioner Gould, are you familiar with the county engineer salary program, how it works? Okay, would you like me to expand upon it a little bit?
No, we can do that with it.
Okay. Resolution 7, we have to do this every year as part of the motor fuel tax program and for the county's participation in the county engineer salary program. It's a resolution that's passed every year this time of year, and it reads, resolution setting the salary of the county engineer, whereas the county has sufficient surface transportation program funds available and desires to use a portion of said funds to pay a portion of the county engineer's salary, and whereas the county desires to appropriate funds for the purpose of payment of the county's engineer's salary and expenses beginning December 1st, 2018, and ending November 30th, 2019. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Union, Illinois as follows. Appropriate from the county's share of motor fuel tax funds the sum of $109,520.20 for salary and $5,000 for expenses, and the sum of $9,492 for the payment of the county engineer's health insurance. Said appropriations includes $124,012.20 from the county motor fuel tax funds. Be it further resolved, the county hereby authorizes the sum of $54,760.10 of their surface transportation program funds to be made available to the Illinois Department of Transportation for the state's use in exchange for an equal amount of state funds. The state funds shall equal 50% of the county engineer's salary. Passed and approved at the meeting of the Board of Commissioners, County of Union, Illinois, this day. Any questions? I think we ought to table this. Yeah, it's wrong.
Couple months at least. Basically 50% of it's reimbursed.
Yeah, long and short of it is that the county engineers, Union County participates in the county engineer salary program. 50% of my salary is paid by the Illinois Department of Transportation. The other 50% comes out of your allotment of the surface transportation program. And then the insurance dollars that are shown on there are a placeholder only. I'm on my wife's insurance, and the county provides me with the supplemental. So if the supplemental doesn't add up to that, that's just a case, if we lose that insurance coverage, and I would have to come back on the county's insurance, that we don't have to go back and repass this resolution.
The 5,000 expenses.
The 5,000 expenses, I usually spend about $1,200 a year. It's a placeholder, it's a spending authority. It's a travel and education requirements for one license.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to attach a resolution for the salary of the county engineer.
Commissioner Garvelia,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
I don't know that we have anything for executive session.
Not that I know.
Are there any committee reports?
I have a meeting with Dirk, trying to set up a meeting with Dirk and the city of Anna before my time's up to discuss the property out at Homestead. If I can get that set up and do it, if not, somebody else can do it.
We had a meeting, a Shawnee Development meeting last night, and I wasn't able to attend, but William did go and represent the county.
Mr. Williams.
Is there any other business?
I have something. So I went to the Jonesboro City Hall meeting this week to discuss the drug task force agent. And as you know, they had mailed in their check short the IMRF portion, and then the treasurer mailed it back to them, telling them that we needed full payment. And then they mailed it back to us again, saying they're not going to pay the IMRF, and to please accept their check as is. So I have that check right now in my office. And so I went to their meeting to try to discuss with them, because I had heard a couple different reasons why that they had short paid it. So I just wanted to make sure that they understood. I spoke to them. I brought in the prior year's statements. I think I brought in all the way back to 2015 to show them that it's always been on there, that it's been detailed out on there. They didn't realize it. They said they must have just not looked at their bill that closely for those past years, or that they wouldn't have paid the IMRF back then either. And then I also wanted to explain to them that we're not asking them to necessarily pay the IMRF. We're not asking them to pay the salary or vacation or anything like that. We're just showing them what this program costs. So I try to explain it as a cost sharing program. Basically that these are the costs that are 100% attributed to the drug task force agent. So we didn't put in there, a cost of a computer or a cost of the clothing allowance or stuff like that. Just salary benefits. And so I explained all that, and just that, the county is actually the one that's going to continue to pay everything. And then we're just asking for their portion. They listened and everything, but then at the end they just said this has gone back years, and that I can't really explain why, but they just feel like that the IMRF portion they're getting taxed twice for. I tried to explain to them that we tax for everything. So the IMRF portion is no different than the salary or the fringe benefits or anything else. I mean, if we tax less for IMRF, we're going to tax more in the general fund, because we're PTEL limited. We're going to tax the exact same amount no matter where it is. It's just shifting buckets. But they were pretty adamant that they will not pay the IMRF portion of the bill. So they asked me where it went from there, and I told them that, it's not my decision to make. All I could do is come back, give the information back to you guys, and then from there, I said you guys would just decide whether or not you want to take IMRF off everyone's bills, and then that's about $10,000. So it'd be $10,000 additional dollars that the county supports for the program. I guess what I'm trying to say is we take it off the bill, the county would pay that portion, and we wouldn't cost share that portion, or however you guys wanted to proceed. And I said, after you make your decision, I would let them know. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm asking you, because the treasurer is asking me, are you wanting to change the invoice for everybody, which would then actually issue a refund for Anna, because Anna already paid it. Or are you adamant that it needs to be paid?
Is that 10,000 total?
10,000 is total. I think Jonesboro's portion was 1,600, something like that.
I don't know that it's necessarily the right thing to do to go take it off anybody else's bill. If Anna, for instance, agrees to continue to pay it, I'm sure they won't once they find this out. But I for one, just wait and see what they do. I mean, I don't know. No need giving it away.
Can I interject something? When we work for Jonesboro, Outlook Pass, we bill them for our materials, machinery, and our manpower is based on an hourly rate, the benefits. Pay that amount, that dollar amount, without question. So where this thing is generated on.
I mean,
An employee costs this amount of money.
yeah. I mean, this program is too important to do away with, and
Well, and I'm jumping the gun here, but that's a question that I have for Scott, is, for the other municipality that chose not to pay, then they were under the understanding that they would not get use of that officer. Okay? My question is that if we take that then and we absorb that, then where does that put you as far as where you're going to use your officer?
Well, I mean, in this situation, it's a little different. Cobham chose not to pay altogether.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I stand corrected on that. But what I'm saying, if we go the other way and just say, okay, we're not going to charge this, it's just all going to be dumped over here in the county, then does that mean that, I guess then you would go back and say, okay, we'll service everyone in the county?
Well, it becomes an issue where it's my obligation to do those investigations, but we are not going to actively, like in Cobham's instance, okay, they didn't pay it, so it is chief to take care of that. If it's something that a case that we're working on and we end up in Cobham, we're going to still work that case.
No, but what I'm saying is one of the options, and I'm putting the cart before the horse here and looking at the end, but if we do say, okay, we're not going to charge any community, we're just going to take this under, put it in, we'll get the money, and then that you're back to everyone in the county, is all municipalities will get that service.
I mean,
It wouldn't be collected by them, correct?
no, I mean by the county. Is that what you're saying?
That was one of the options, right, that we just not cheat and put it in our general fund and pay it out of that?
I was referring to the IMRF, not
Okay.
the whole amount, but I
Okay.
mean, I guess you have that option too, but I was referring to just the IMRF.
Okay.
I mean, they paid the salary, their portion of the salary for ASA, they're just saying we're not paying the IMRF.
Okay.
portion, which
Yeah,
amounts to what?
and that's right, and that's apples and oranges,
$1,600.
because Cobbins just said we're not paying anything. Okay, I get that.
Right.
Okay,
so am I understanding you right, then with the Cobham situation, you're operating as needed, or per normal, but
If he made that request to me to go in and do a drug investigation, I'm like, you guys backed out of it, I'm not getting involved in it. If I'm working a case out in the county and it gets into Cobden, or we
Right.
initiate something that involves a Cobden resident,
Okay.
we're gonna work it.
Right.
But if I'm requested to do that, no, I mean, that's on him
No,
to do that.
okay.
And I get, Angie, I misunderstood what you said. I get, you know, you sorry, I understand that.
Well, if it doesn't get that way, it's gonna be a disaster if it does.
Oh, it's imperative that we have it. I'm telling you, we work drug cases every day. And what I know that look at it like it's everybody's problem, because those folks that are dealing drugs in the cities can do the same thing, or, you know, so. It's a shared.
Yeah, that's the question.
The original question, I don't see the need, I mean, somebody else say something here. At this point, see what everybody chooses to do next year.
Who all pays into this?
Dongola, Jonesboro, Anna, and Cobden did.
Okay, it's elected out completely. So we have Dongola, Jonesboro, and Anna. And Anna's paid as Dongola?
I don't think Dongola has paid yet.
So of Anna paying, if that IMRF ballpark figure, what would be paid back to Anna?
I would have to go look it up. It's like 10 grand in total. The county pays about half, so Anna's is probably, if Jonesboro's 1,600, I'd guess Anna's probably 3 grand.
I'd say if Anna's not raising an issue about it, why address it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I look for it to happen, but yeah.
I mean,
Well, I do too, but. you
Yeah,
know,
and that's fine.
let them make the move.
I guess I just don't know how to do that going forward then, even, because I'm getting ready to send out next year's, because if IMRF is part of the program, then it's gonna be divided up between all municipalities, you're gonna have the same thing, Jonesboro's not gonna pay. If IMRF is not part of the program, then it's gonna come out, and then Anna won't pay. Anna won't pay that much, so I guess that's what I'm asking, is like, are we including IMRF, and we're just,
I think we
Gonna-
need to continue to send it out just like we have and see what they do. Obviously, when Jonesboro gets theirs next year, they're gonna send us a check, hopefully, minus the IMRF. See what Anna does, see what Dongola does. You know, if they don't, obviously the county's gonna have to pick it up in our portion, so.
do you want to send Jonesboro a new invoice for this year?
No,
Without
I'd
IMRF.
rather it be in the records that they didn't pay it.
Well, the reason I'm
I mean,
asking
we
is
can go
because
ahead
the
and-
treasurer is saying he will not deposit the check if it does not agree to the invoice. So he says he needs an adjusted invoice if that's the amount you're willing to accept.
Just the invoice and then put it in the minutes.
How will they adjust or differentiate between IMRF benefit costs and health benefit costs?
That's what I try to explain over and over, and for some reason they are stuck on the IMRF. I kept saying it's no different than any of the other benefits. We ask for all of them, but for some reason they feel like IMRF is different. I can't explain it, and they kept saying, do you understand? And I said, no, I don't. It doesn't, it's no different. Lance, do you have something to say? I can see it.
No,
I'm now resigned with the city council of Jonesboro. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just telling you how it was brought up. Since IMRF is a line item in the tax levy, we feel like the citizens of Jonesboro has already paid that, because everybody's paid that. That goes towards IMRF for each individual county. So since that's already been paid on that person, then they feel like once that comes in as this, to help share the cost of that would be a double tax then in that way. That's the theory behind it. I have mixed feelings on it, I'll tell you personally, I don't know. I can see a little bit of both on that, but I'm no longer on that, but I can tell you that's where that.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll say to that, Lance, is the way that it just was explained is that it's a cost sharing, you know, it's part of the cost that we're telling you, you know, yeah, you've been taxed over here under this line item, but we're just letting you know that for the cost sharing program of that agent, this is how we got to this bottom line. So I mean, it's not that you're being charged again for it, it's that this is the cost of doing business, and we're just letting you know as an informational item, this is the cost.
I understand, like I said, that's the same thing we're saying, where each, for that, however much he's granted for IMRS already being picked up from the county, or by the county on that levy, is the argument.
It is,
Okay.
but what we're telling you is this is the cost itemized of doing business. You know, because if we just sent this
Well,
bottom lump sum,
And even discuss then everything, then what we are putting in is a double tax in the theory as well too. As far as everything being paid it we consider double tax, and that's how I look at it, and that's fine. I personally see it as that. I see it as, that's just the cost of being in the city limits of you know, and being, because if we had our own drug agent in Jonesboro, we would spend a whole lot more than that. So that's why
yeah,
that's, I understand the whole issue of that, but I'm just telling you, that's where, and they've said, and I think it was before I even was on, I've been on the board 6 years there, but before then, they said that they never, that it was, that they did not pay the IMRF portion years ago. I don't know. You were.
I don't think it was itemized out before.
Okay.
and that's my
I don't
point.
know, you guys might know, I don't know, but that
No,
was saying, they were
and that-
saying for years that it wasn't paid out for that way.
No, and that's my whole point, Lance, is prior, probably everybody just got a lump sum number and said, this is what the cost is. Okay,
So they
then
were, said years ago, they got a line item, and that's where they,
I would.
because they said Everett Morgan was on the board, then he was the one that said, no, that's a double tax, and that's where, and that's been, and Everett's been off for, well, he was off before I got on, so that was the theory, and then from then on, we just received the bill as a lump, and I think they paid it. I didn't know it was an issue until this year, to tell you the truth personally, but there again, I was just one of six.
And I understand that, but to fix the problem that we have between Jonesboro and the sheriff's, or the treasurer saying that he won't pay without the invoice matching, I do think that Dave probably has a good solution to that, is we send out another one that matches that, but then with the notation for us on,
In the minutes,
Yeah.
we modified that.
because, I mean, if the treasurer's not gonna pay it unless it matches, then we have to do one thing or the other.
I think this is one thing that's like, it's two different versions of which side you want to see of it, but I think there could be something worked out, but there again, I'm no longer can speak for that side of Jonesboro, but I would say it should be. I think it's just a miscommunication. She did a fantastic job representing you guys, I'm not gonna say that, but as far as, where that stems from is that, so.
Before we send out 19s, let's relook at the methodology, because I keep hearing Scott say years ago, this is what, years ago. Maybe the methodology needs to be relooked at.
That's kind of where I would suggest, and looking into new ways to communicate with this, and talk with the mayor and the attorney and everybody there and see what can be worked out with this, so. I mean, yeah, I know that we understood why, of course, our bill was 3,000, 4,000 more this year because of obvious reasons that Coppin was out. We weren't, but that's out of your hands and ours, I guess, in the sense, so, there might need to be something done to maybe explain with Coppin a little better, needing to get back in this program because it's too beneficial for everybody in the county. Jonesboro does not want to get out of this. I can promise you that. I think that was just the issue they felt because that was brought up years ago, and then once they looked at the line item and saw the IMRF in there as part of the cost, then that threw up the red flag. Well, we didn't pay that years ago. So that's the ideology behind it. So that's where you're at. So
I think what Lance said about the IMRF being listed on the bill as a separate levy, I think that's where it's getting hung up at. And I don't think from thinking about the fact that all the rest of those charges are under the general fund on your bill.
Yes.
So all the charges are on there. So it's just, that it doesn't say salary, it says general fund. It doesn't say fringe benefits, it says general fund. But IMRF says IMRF and IMRF. So that's where the hangup is. I mean, if anything, what you said about it being, I hate that double tap, but if that's what you're saying, it would be the whole program.
That's why
IMRF is no different than any other rec.
and you heard, I think I brought up then, I said, yeah, well, it's all, because I was in agreement saying, yeah, it's all double tax.
Right, so it's
Just the cost of.
the county's gonna tax the same amount of money whether we have a drug task force agent or we don't have a drug task
And I don't
force
think they
agent.
understood detail as well.
Because we're PTEL with it,
Yes.
right. And so, but then when we have the drug task force agent, here's what the costs of it are, so.
Let's get, let me move this along, let's get with Scott and relook at this whole methodology, and I have reached out to Cobham, Cobham's willing to talk with us again. So.
Are they? That all originated with their chief. He decided to.
But again, I may have stepped over my bounds, but I have talked with one of the commissioners.
No, if anybody
He's
can,
willing
because
to.
Bobby and I went to them on this dispatching thing too, to try to, ask him to help us with that a little bit, and so it fell on deaf ears.
So did you get your question answered?
Yes,
Do you want to put the invoice change in the form of motions?
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, we don't have to, do we?
no, and it's not on your
That's just-
agenda, so
Yeah.
I just want to fill you in on
I
the
think we just need
meeting.
to put it in the dialogue, because that's what we agreed to do.
Well, we back up, Grant has got something coming up, throws her for the ambulance service.
The annual service will be getting together on the December the 1st. That morning, we'll be meeting further to work on the food drive like we've done each year. Last year was the first, but we're hoping to see if we get some generosity from the customers that come in and out Kroger on Saturday, December the 1st, and then that food will be turned over to Shopwell.
Are there any public comments? Like I said, we're gonna take a break here, and then work on the budget some more, but Danny, is there something you want to say?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it now. I was gonna do it at the end of the meeting, but, couple things that I want to make comments on is back to what we talked about last meeting on the IMRF, findings that we had, and along with that, on the findings that we had that Angela found a couple months ago in the SLEP program. And just for information on the SLEP program, when that was in 2007, and the bill at that time that we owed the IMRF for the SLEP program was $70,746. And we have paid on that for 10 years to the tune, the taxpayers have paid $64,179.76. But that did not even meet the interest on it. So now the taxpayers and the county owe $83,000 on a $70,000 bill that we paid on for 10 years. And that, on this budget, we have to make decisions. The new board will have to make decisions on what they're going to do, because like I said, we owe $83,000 on a $70,000 bill that we've paid $64,000 already on. And that finding, and that was found when we got a new IMRF agent. I would hate to think of what that would cost if we never found that 5 years, 10 years from now. And somebody asked me, said, well, why didn't IMRF call us and tell us about that? Because they got $64,000 and we still owe 83. They're not going to tell us that, and we got annual reports that said where we were at. But I just think, and the reason I'm bringing this out now is I'm leaving from the board, but I think that the constituents need to know what this is, because that is gonna be $83,000 in this next budget that we're gonna have to figure out how to pay. And along with that, on top of it, that the IMRF findings that we have still looming over us, that we're gonna have to come, we don't even know. There's an unknown factor there of how much that's gonna cost, and there's an unknown factor of how this is going to impact our retirees and our employees. So what I'm asking the board to consider, like I mentioned last meeting, is we need to compile a letter to our employees and the retirees to let them know exactly what's going on, what we know, where we're at. But at the same time, and Jeff, I'm glad you're here, that we need to let the constituents know what's going on, because if they see in the budget, if they look at the budget, we've got an $83,000 bill out there that we owe that's combined. And this was at the end of 2017. We don't know yet, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Angie, we haven't got 2018s in yet, so we don't know. So this could be several thousand, well, it is going to be several $1,000s more. But I mean, I just was blown away and astounded that we had a $70,000 bill for 10 years that we owe $83,000 on, that we paid $64,000 on.
What's the extra charge for? What
Interest. We haven't.
No, what was the original
For the
amount?
SLEP, now that would, you'd have to ask Angel. In 2006, I think something happened that we went into the SLEP program, and when we did, they estimated the $50,000 going into the SLEP program. And now, Scott, you'll have to talk to Angela about that, because I don't know exactly what that money was, but I do know that we've been paying on it, and we're still paying on it.
We didn't go into the SLEP program in 2006 or 7. SLEP has been around for a long time. I don't know what happened with SLEP
There was some sort
Was
of,
it SLEP enhancement?
yes, the enhancement
IMRF did
program.
some kind of SLEP enhancement. It wasn't just us. From the research I can do, everybody that had SLEP, like every county, everybody, yeah.
Yeah, it was, and that was the title of it, SLEP enhancement.
Because St. Clair County, that's where they got hit with, several $100,000. This was almost, I think, about $1 million.
Yeah. So, but my point, guys, my point is, in this next budget, we're gonna have to do something to get a handle on this, because we haven't even been paying the interest. Like I say, we're $13,000 over what we originally owed, because we haven't even paid the interest. So we've got to get a handle on that. And like I say, and that's a big hit to this next board coming up. I mean, they're getting hit with almost $100,000 bill here before we ever start. So that's just something that I wanted to bring up, and I think that people need to be aware of what's going on, and especially with our findings that we've had that we're working on getting, and I know that you are beating your head against the wall, because you can't do things till they report on individual employees. They're going back, and we're doing it as individuals on what has been paid in, what we owe, and then again with the retirees, what they're getting. And again, I think that we ought to notify the people so that they know, because the unknown, or what they're hearing, if it's not factual, then it's just going to be a snowball rolling downhill. So I think that we need to inform all of our employees, all of our retirees, and for that matter, the constituents, of what's going on. And again, we're getting ready. This is another point that I want to make, is we're getting ready to hear from the highway department, and I have looked at his figures, and I don't know what he's going to propose, but for the last several years, before we've ever started the budget process, I have said we have to increase our revenues, because if we don't increase our revenues, we're dying. We are dying. Our expenditures are outpacing our revenues. So with that being said, to increase our revenues, we have to either attract business or new people coming into the county. And before we do that, we have to build up our infrastructure, because people aren't going to move in, or business aren't going to move in, if we have infrastructure that's crumbling. So I want to say that, and Kevin, I don't know what you're going to ask for, and the new board is going to have to look at this, but I would recommend that we put at least an additional $100,000 into the highway department to start building up our infrastructure. And I will say, before I leave also, that constituents have said in meetings that we have cut the highway department year after year after year, and that is not true. As a matter of fact, in last year's budget, we increased the highway department $62,000 in their last budget. And we've had people stand right behind that podium saying that we cut them. We have not. Last year, they got $62,000 more, and I encourage this board to give at least an additional $100,000 on top of that to the highway department. But people that stand behind the pulpit here and say, you're cutting the highway department, we need to start defending ourselves and saying, no, we haven't. We've given them $62,000 additional. And if I'm wrong on that, you can correct me when you stand up and talk. But people, they either don't know how to read a budget, they're not reading it right. That I'd be more informed before they stand up and say that we're cutting where we're not. And with that, like I say, this is my official last board meeting. And when I came in 6 years ago, I campaigned saying that I would make my decisions based upon my faith and based upon what I thought was best for the constituents of Union County. And as I walk out that door today, I can honestly say that I have done that. The decisions that the board and the makeup of this board has changed over the last 6 years several times. But I will say that the board as a whole have made some decisions that are best for the constituents of Union County. They have not been popular by no means, but when I walk out that door, I will feel proud and leave my head high because we have made decisions that is for the betterment of the county. Now, I do count it an honor that I've been here for 6 years. The people entrusted to the Board of Commissioners to make decisions, and I count that as an honor. And I want to thank the people for putting their trust in me, and for you guys that are left on the board, I will pray for you and hope that you continue to make the decisions that need to be made. But I want to thank everybody, and that's my final hoorah.
Well, I just say I have enjoyed serving with you for 6 years. We both came on at the same time. And it's been an honor to have you on the board. And I think only one time you and I really disagreed on something. That's kind of amazing. And now the meetings will be about 30 minutes short.
There you go. I hope you get as much done.
Certainly want to thank you for your service.
You're welcome. Thank you.
At this time, let's take a short break and we'll get ready for the